Hi everyone, this is Vince Vu in PSB, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to access your employee engagement survey results. So this year, engagement survey results are viewable online and are interactive. We've partnered with an external vendor, Confirmit, to create these reports. So what I will show you today will help you access your online report within Confirmit's portal. So when you're in the King County network, single sign-on is enabled for the engagement reports. So what this means is that you'll be able to access the report using your pre-existing King County credentials. So essentially, if you're logged into King County's network, you should be logged into the report. To access the report, you're going to go to the link that you'll see on Upfront. It begins with SSO. When you click on that link, you may see a couple things. If you're like me and you have access to multiple reports from Confirmit, you'll see this page and you'll be able to click on where you want to go. And in this case, you want to go to the engagement report. In some cases, you may only have access to the engagement report. In those cases, you'll be directed right into the report. It's important to know that if you're going to bookmark this report webpage, you'll want to access it and sign in and be authenticated into it before you bookmark it. If you bookmark it before you're signed in, you may experience problems. So if you have a bookmark and it's not working, try to delete that bookmark, access the site, sign in, and re-bookmark the site. To request access to a report, you can contact your engagement steering committee member. That list of employees, the list of committee members is located on Upfront. So once in the report, you'll have access to a page that looks somewhat like this. Now note that depending on your screen size and your resolution, you may see things in different spots. I'm just going to minimize it a little bit here so that it looks maybe more familiar to some of you. You should see something that looks like this. This first page that you'll be thrown into is the summary report, and this is the page that has most of the information we think you'll want to access right away. So you'll see these tabs across up here that take you to different areas of the page. You'll also see this left-hand filter column for drilling down through the data. So you can see all the stuff here in the report. Let's say I was interested in seeing it only for women or only for men. You can drill down on any of the pages, and this filter panel will stay filtered. So if I change gender identity to man now, it's going to only show me results for men, and that filter that I've selected will stay if I change to a different tab. So you always want to make sure that you're looking through to make sure that your filters are cleared or the filter is on the filter that you'd like. Up on top here, you can see the report that you're currently logged into. Right now, I'm looking at the countywide report, and it'll also tell you, who's logged in, so you can make sure that you have the right account. User settings up here, scroll up. On the upper right, you'll see a couple things. So one, you'll see the survey selection screen. It'll default to this year's survey, but note that the historical survey stuff is in there. Our historical survey data is in there. Just be careful when you're looking at this. The information is there. The trending might be a little wonky, but the information will be there. You can see how many invitations have been sent for this group. So for the entirety of King County, we sent almost 13,000 invitations, and we got back almost 9,000 responses. You can see your response rate. This little icon here, this is sort of your user setting, and this will be very important because this is where you're going to be able to export your reports. So to export your reports, you want to hover on your user setting icon and click on export. Now there's a couple different options here. You can export as PDF, as Excel, PowerPoint. You can set the page orientation. What this is going to do is actually email the export to you. So you'll put in the email that you want to receive the export, and typically it's going to default to your email address. You can add a comment here about sort of like, here's your export. And export scope is what you really want to pay attention to. So right now it's on current page. So what this means is that the current page that you're on, it's going to create an export of this page in a PDF. And that'll be useful if you want to show your employees some of the information on a specific page. You can also export the full export, which is more similar to the engagement reports we had in the past that listed all of the question items and all of the scores. So you can also export that. We ask that when you do export that, you save that file somewhere where you can repeatedly access it and repeatedly print it out. Once you export the full export once, there's no need to go back in and re-export it if you already have the file. So a couple of things that I'd like to show you too on this page, and again, the filter panel will be here. You can flip through your hierarchy as well. So depending on what level of access you have, you'll be able to drill down into the smaller groups. So by default, you will have access to your own group plus all of the groups underneath you, or we call them children groups. So you should be able to filter down through the groups as you'd like. You can see here that this upper info panel changed and showed me that now I'm looking at the executive branch report. Before we go into the pages, I'd like to point you to the methodology tab. It's always good to read this first before you look through your report so you understand sort of how things are being calculated, what our rounding is like, what the suppression thresholds are. This gives you most of the information you need if you have a question, a technical question about a report. So back to the summary report, this is sort of, again, the page that we would like you to focus most on. The first thing you're going to see are these headline tiles, and this tells you the indices that we most want you to pay attention to. So you have this legacy engagement index. This is our old engagement index. Next to it, you have our new engagement index. Now, this year in 2019, what we decided to do was based on the current research that was out there about employee engagement, we decided to refine our index. We discovered a couple items that just really weren't telling us very much about our employees, and we heard from you and your employees that often the engagement index felt fake, or it felt like it wasn't really showing the full picture of what was happening in a section. So we've modified the engagement index, and this is the new one here. You'll notice that it's most likely lower than what you've had in the past, but we feel that it's more accurate. We also have a new well-being index that you can learn and explore about, and a belief in action score. This is the score that helps us trend action planning and to figure out how effectively action planning is happening across the organization. You'll notice that these tiles also have this informational eye, and if you hover over that, it'll tell you some more information about that tile. We also have an ESJ tile, and what this tile does is shows you the items with the biggest disparities for whatever demographic group you are selecting. So let's say I wanted to select gender identity here. What it's going to do is for this report, so for the executive branch overall, it's going to pull the 3 items that have the highest disparities. Same thing with race ethnicity. If I pull out race ethnicity, it's going to pull the items, the 3 items that have the biggest disparities among the groups. So it's an easy way for you to go through and easily and quickly identify, like, okay, where might I want to focus in regards to ESJ. You'll also see that the next tile is about themes from comments. So what we do is we look at all of the comments and we sort them into themes, and we've summarized those themes here. And so for this question, what would make you feel safer at work? You can see the top themes. This gives you a, at a glance, like, what are folks saying? What are employees saying about this question? What are folks saying about, what one thing would you change to improve King County as a place to work? There's also a separate tab that you can explore the actual comments themselves. Note that there is a different suppression threshold on those comments. So groups that have fewer than 20 comments will have the comments themselves suppressed. And these themes here are created when there are at least 6 comments within the same topic area. So if there are at least 6 comments about manager support, this manager support theme is created. The next tile shows you the biggest increases. So again, at a glance, where are we doing well? We also have a key driver tile, which is, based on statistical analysis, which items seem to be most positively correlated with the engagement score. As these items go up, engagement score also tends to go up. So they are also a nice area to start your conversations, where it seems like based on statistical analysis, these would be the most items that are most important to your employees. And then finally, we have a variance tile at the end. So you can see, again, quickly, how well have you done compared to last year? At a glance, how well or how different is your report this year than it was last year? So that's the summary page. And again, this is sort of the useful one-stop shop if you're looking for information. You can also go to the full results page, which we'll go to next. Just a note, the full results page is a little slow. It's a little slower than some of the web pages you may be used to. And that's because there are hundreds of calculations happening in this one report. And the calculations are happening real time. And so the page needs a couple extra seconds than you're used to calculate those numbers. And so that's why the report may be a little slower than you're used to, but it shouldn't be anything too debilitating. And by going to sort of an online format, you have more powerful ways to access your data, and we're saving a ton of trees. And so hopefully a couple seconds kind of offsets that. This is the full results page. This is a little bit more similar to reports that you may have been used to in the past. The first thing you're going to see is just these different dimensions of engagement. These are the different sections that we had on the survey. And you'll see that we have sort of the same things that you're used to. We have the N scores, we have the percent positives, we have the variance from last survey, how did it change from last survey, variance from group, which I'll show you in a little bit, variance from parent, which is the group right above you, and so how you're doing compared to your parent, and then variance from the county overall. We also have, and I'm going to try to expand this here, this column here, which is the benchmarks, which is more, you'll see more visible when I click into the dimensions. So to explore a dimension, you click on the name of that dimension, and it'll show you the questions that were in that dimension. So here's where you can see that benchmark, how this question compares based on the rest of the public sector. Our public sector benchmark is fairly comprehensive. It includes many other public sector organizations across the United States. There's also an all industries benchmark, which is everyone, public sector, private sector, everybody in there. And you can sort based on this as well. So one thing I'd like to point out on this page is that, take care when you're looking at the questions. If there are different asterisks here, they're at the very bottom. This is what it means. This is what that asterisk means. And so take care while you're interpreting these results. I want to pull your attention to this up here, the show results by. We call this the break by menu. And this is where you can take these question items and break them by different demographics. So let's say I'm really interested in how women answered this question. My supervisor engages effectively with conflict in my work group. I want to see how that differed between men and women. So then I will just break by gender identity. And what you can see is it's separating the responses for this question by that group. So you can see that, women here scored 66. Non-binary employees scored 55. Men scored 63. And you can see just how different the scores are. It's the same, and this is where the variance from group pops up, because this will mean, okay, this is the variance from the average of the group overall. So here, women actually are scoring higher than the group overall as an average. And so that's how you'll know sort of like, okay, how are things going? The colors here, we've highlighted the items that have more than a 5 percentage point increase. This is consistent, increase or decrease. This is consistent with reports in the past. We do also have a guide on, sort of how to check for statistical analysis, which will be also on Upfront, or please give us a call at PSB and we'll be able to help you with your interpretation here. But the colors are mostly so that you can, at a glance, pick out the dramatic differences. And you can break by any of these items. One thing that folks like to do is break by team, break by tenure. And so this break by is really powerful. You can also apply a filter at the same time. So let's say, I want to break by gender identity, but I only want to know, the employees that are between 41 and 45. We'll wait for the report to do its thinking. And there you go. So now you can see that our ends have decreased because there are only this number of people, this number of employees within this age bracket, and these are their scores. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility to figure out, all right, how do I want to see my data? Note that there is suppression built in, so if you try to add too many filters, if you already have a small group, if you get to a situation where there are fewer than 6 responses, including filters, including break-bys, then your data will be suppressed. And that is so that we protect employee anonymity. So this is the full results page. Again, very powerful. Definitely spend some time looking through all of these dimensions. There's many things that you'll be able to sort of see on your reports that are much more powerful than in years past. The comments tab shows the comments that you might have. So again, here's the comments for this question. You can also select, we have more open-ended questions this time. And so you'll be able to click through like, okay, which comments do I want to see? And again, if there are fewer than 20 comments, they will be suppressed to protect employee anonymity. New this year, we also have categorical topics. So there were a couple of questions where if employees answered anything other than strongly agree, we asked them a follow-up question. And so the follow-up questions are here. There was a question about, I can develop my skills at work around skills development. And so if folks did not answer strongly agree, we asked them, okay, what barriers do you face in developing your skills? There's another question about, feeling stressed at work. And if folks answered anything other than strongly agree, we also asked a follow-up. So you'll be able to see here sort of like the why behind people are answering. And again, this is a good starting point for you to have further conversations with your work group. And note that I have this filter here. It's still applied. So remember, if you apply a filter, it's going to stick with all the pages. So you'll want to make sure you're clearing out the filters. There's also a response rate page. This is for you to kind of tell in depth like how your employees responded throughout the survey administration period. It's kind of cool. You can also see sort of distribution by different demographic categories. Again, you see that break by. So this might help you kind of identify like, all right, who were the folks that tended to respond to the survey more than other folks. And then again, we have this methodology tab. So I highly recommend kind of familiarizing yourself with the methodology tab. So this, in a nutshell, is a quick whirlwind tour of our 2019 employee engagement report. There's also a quick access guide that you'll find on Upfront and also other materials that will help you interpret your scores on Upfront. And of course, at any point, feel free to contact your steering committee member listed on Upfront, or you can contact me in PSB. Our email is psb@kingcounty.gov. And so if you have questions, feel free to send anything our way. We know that this is a really exciting change. I think many of you have been asking for an online report that's less clunky than the PDFs that we used to distribute in the past, but it's new. And so we're happy and we'd love for you to send us feedback on how we can make this tool better. This is really in service for you and so that you're able to understand your employees in a better way. Once again, my name is Vince Vu. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We've just watched how to read your engagement report. And if you have any questions, please check up front or give us an email. Thank you so much.